welcome to our podcast. I'm Anna Milne with the Flourishing Moms Tribe, where we do podcasts, one-on-one coaching, and have a supportive community on Facebook. We help moms through guilt, through stress, and through overwhelm. Today I have Vanessa Kelman with me. Vanessa is a self-professed bookaholic, determined to share a love of reading with children everywhere. She is an independent consultant and educational service rep with Osborne Books, and as well as an aspiring children's librarian, and I believe she's even written a couple books as well. So through her Children's Reading World website, she hopes children and parents become really embrace the whole reading and really become fans of reading. She lives in East Hartford, Connecticut with her 2 young children and a house full of books. Today we'll be chatting about how to raise readers, and Vanessa will be offering suggestions on guidance to help parents to encourage their children as they learn to read. So thank you so much, honey. I am so thrilled that you're here to just embrace and talk more about this topic.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
So bookaholic, tell us about that.
Well, I have always loved the written word. I like writing. I like reading. I grew up with books. My mom definitely raised me to be a reader myself. Mm-hmm. And I mean, you look around my house and I have got books everywhere. I turn half of my bedroom into a library because I just needed a place to store all of these books. I've got children's books. I've got books from me. I've got books about parenting. I've got every single subject. There's everything. They've taken over my house, but books are my life. And apparently what I have is not enough because I keep getting more and I keep wanting to make them a bigger part of my life. So definitely a bookaholic.
Nice. And you said it was your mom that kind of raised you and started you on that journey?
Yeah. My mom loves books too. She's a big reader, and when I was young, we didn't have a lot of money, so we went to the library a lot, and we would check out books. And she definitely believed in the power of reading and how important it was, and so it became part of me. And she has played a part in my children's love of reading as well, because she took care of them while I was working before they started school. So she's inspired them to have a love of reading as well. She's definitely played a big part in my love of reading, my children's love of reading, and how much a part of my life it is.
That's awesome. And, if we speak about reading, I don't know if you have any stats offhand, but what is the importance of reading and where does that or can that lead to?
Well, a love of reading can have far-reaching impact. In children especially, reading stories about other kids can help teach them social skills. It can teach them how to be empathetic, and it can teach them how they should react or might react in certain situations. It can teach them problem solving while you have to figure things out, in a mystery book, for example, or, what's happening, what's going to happen. It helps with your memory because you have to remember plot lines. You have to remember what happened previously so that everything makes sense. Then you go into the nonfiction section and you can learn about any topic that you want to.
Yes.
Everything, from animals to computer coding to anything. I mean, there's a book on every possible subject you can think of. So if a child has an interest in learning about anything, certainly they can get a book or magazine or anything, because reading is not just books. It is anything with words on them. And I think a lot of people tend to forget that. But yeah, so you're learning information, you're learning social skills, you're learning how to relate to the world, you're learning problem solving skills, it has so many far-reaching impacts. And then the act of reading itself can help you sleep better. It can reduce stress. There are just so many benefits overall that it's mind-blowing if you think about it, how awesome reading is for us. And I wish that everybody loved it as much as I do, because they would really, reap all those benefits that it does have.
So interesting. I never knew that about stress and sleep.
Yeah. Yeah. turns your mind off because you're escaping into another world. You're thinking about something other than your problems and your worries. So it really kind of puts your mind in a different direction. So you're not dwelling on everything that's stressing you out and worrying you. It calms down your brain, slows down your brain as you're thinking about other things. And yeah, it can really impact, not only get you into like the mode to sleep, but also help you sleep better as well.
Yeah, that makes sense, because a big suggestion when I work with moms is, before you go to bed, put away your phone half an hour, and in the morning too. And that would be huge, is now, read a book before you go to bed.
Absolutely. I was just reading an article earlier today where only 6 minutes of reading has been shown to reduce stress levels by like 60% or something. It's crazy. So just a little bit of reading, just turns your mind into a different direction and can really help your stress levels.
Wow, that's huge. I had no idea. No,
Absolutely.
wow. Okay, so I'm going to add that into my repertoire when I work. Turn off the phone and read.
Yep.
Now, what if happens? I know even for myself, like what if you have a child that doesn't like reading?
Well, it happens, but I am of the belief that if a child says they don't like reading, it's just because they haven't been shown the right thing to read. Um,
Mm,
a
okay.
lot of times people dwell on, parents, teachers, they dwell on certain kinds of books or certain reading or, but like I said, books themselves,
Right.
and they miss out on things. So if a child, for example, isn't into fiction, doesn't like storybooks or chapter books or whatever, then the parents might be like, oh, my child doesn't like to read. But at the same time, if you tap into what the child is interested in, you can really get them interested in reading. So, for
Mm,
example, if they're interested in animals, show them books or magazines about animals. If they're interested in computers, there are books about coding, there are books about different programs. Heck, you can even pick up books, with cheats and information about different video games.
yeah.
And anything with words is reading. And so even if it's like a magazine about video games or something like that, there is text in there. There is information, and that is reading, and it is getting their brains thinking about something beyond themselves and using that problem solving or really just that challenging them, and getting them thinking in different directions. So it can be just little snippets of information here and there, but if you're tapping into what they like instead of dwelling on what you think they should be reading,
Mm,
that itself can really help.
I
Um,
think, yeah, I think that's huge. I mean, when they were little, we all start well, and we do the Dr. Seuss and we do all that kind of stuff. But I think that's huge, that what they want.
Absolutely, because there are some kids who don't get into the fiction. They don't want to read about other people. They want to learn about different things. Just looking at my bookshelves here, I mean, I've got books about history, I've got books about religion, piratology. I have a book called Piratology. If you have a kid who likes pirates, get a book about pirates, or get a magazine or show information, take them to a museum and have them read the little informational placards in front of the displays. That is reading. They are learning, they are interacting, they're getting their minds working in different directions. It doesn't
Mm,
have to be a dense chapter book that's 50 pages long for them to get the benefits of reading.
yes, yes. And so true. My daughter recently, she's almost 15, has really embraced poetry. There's been some really good poetry books that are coming out.
Yeah, absolutely. There are tons of poetry. I mean, poems are not my thing,
Right.
but a lot of kids do like poetry. And
Yeah.
especially if you get like the humorous ones, that'll get the kids who are into the humor, or you can get the ones that are more, nature related or whimsical and get kids thinking, in the fantastical ways. And as long as the child is enjoying themselves and are able to escape themselves, then hey, I'm all for it. It doesn't have to
Yeah.
be what we think.
Agreed. Agreed. Yeah. And I was quite blown away. I can't even remember the names of the poet books. Um, but it was a girl sharing her struggles and her healing process through poems. And my daughter asked last year for Christmas, can you get poem books? I'm like, what? Yeah. Yes, I can.
Yeah, absolutely. If they show any interest, tap into that,
Yeah.
because you want to really encourage them as much as you can, because it's just that love will grow and they'll learn so much. And
Yeah.
especially like what you're talking about, where a girl, going through her healing or whatever, that is teaching your daughter, how other people might think or feel and relating to them on a different level. So it also can give her ways to express herself, because that's another big one with the benefit of reading. They're building their vocabulary. They're being able to
Mm,
put words to their own feelings and their own thoughts. And so that can help them in their own experiences and help them relate to others as well.
yeah. We love that. Now, how can we make suggestions? Say, instead of that, okay, you got to read before you go, and that becomes this big battle. Of course, the child doesn't want to read because we're saying you have to. What are some gentle ways to, encourage or raise a reader without that power struggle?
Absolutely. Well, I think one of the biggest things, just an overall mindset, is don't make it seem like a chore. Don't say you have to read. Say, "Oh, what should we read today?" You know, give kids the opportunity to pick what they're going to read. Give them options. Have books or magazines or any kind of reading material wherever they are going to be for any period of time. Have them at the breakfast table, have them in the living room, have them in the car, have them in the bathroom, wherever they're spending any kind of time.
Yeah.
And if they're reluctant to that, hey, put anything with words in front of them. If they eat cereal for breakfast, leave the cereal box on the table and let them read the back of it. You know, they have games and interactive things to get kids interested in them.
Yeah.
So anything, have have them exposed as much as possible to books and reading material around them, and that'll help get them interested. Um, One thing also is the library is a humongous resource for books. I mean, you go there, obviously, you've got tons of reading material.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if a child doesn't like to read, that can be imposing, or it can be like, oh, we have to go to the library. So what I would suggest is try going to the library for non-reading activities. A lot of libraries will have um, different groups or events for kids and adults. Musical activities. They will have story times, but they'll have like craft projects, they'll have science projects, they'll bring in magicians and other kinds of shows. Have them kind of ease
Mm.
into the library. And as they get more comfortable with the space, then kind of linger in the children's department and say, oh, look, this looks interesting. Or do you see anything that might be interesting to you? So kind of ease them into it so that it doesn't feel like such a chore, such a burden, something that they have to do. Make it lighthearted, make it fun, make it something that they can look forward to. And then once you start with the things that they pick out, encourage the love, bring in different activities that relate to what they're reading. Make
Mm.
like a craft project, or have them act out a scene, or figure things out for themselves. I mean, if build a fort, or something that
Yeah.
relates to what they're reading. If they are learning about animals or something in the book, then have some like toy animals that they can kind of play with also, and say like, oh, look, the dog in the book was doing this, or how do you think they would relate to each other in real life? Make them see things in their own personal experiences, so that it's not just words on a page, but they're actually relating it to what they're doing, relating it to what they're seeing, and make them kind of think outside the box, so that these are not just words that they have to sit and read, but bring them to life, make them more interesting and engaging, so that they're actually interested in those words. They're interested in what they're reading.
I love that. Yeah. And I love the idea. I never even thought about that. Is the library always has, I mean, I don't know if it's the same as every library, but it always has special events, characters, or things happening. That's huge. I did that. Yeah. Yeah. Maybe
Yeah,
that's why they do it.
absolutely. They want people to feel comfortable in the library. They want to, you know, they want them to be welcome there. The library is not just it's so different than what it used to be. I was talking to one of my bosses the other day, and he's like, "Oh, libraries are kind of obsolete." I'm like, "Are you kidding me? Libraries are
You
so
must have died.
obsolete. They are no longer just like rows of bookshelves where everybody has to be quiet. The librarians are going to yell at you if you make too much noise." That is not what they are anymore. They
Mhm.
inviting and welcoming, and they're brightly lit, and you go into the children's department and they've got train sets, and they've got computers, and they've got all these different colorful displays and posters, and I mean they have DVDs, they have CDs, and of course all the books and the magazines and everything like that. They want kids and families to feel welcome there. They want it to be a community resource that is being used. So encourage your child to step in there and not just feel like it's a dusty old place full of, scolding librarians and they have to do something that they hate.
Yes.
Show
Yeah.
them that it can be fun and interesting, and then, bring them into wow, look at all these awesome books. Wouldn't this be fun to read?
I think as parents, I know for myself, I go back to, school librarian, where she would be like, as soon as I walk in, giving me that,
Yep.
uh, that sign, like, shh, Anna, be quiet. And I think we need to visit a library because it's not that way anymore.
It's not.
No. And I know in our community, and they're spreading out all over, we have like, take a book, bring a book, take a book, and we have like little stands set up all
Little
around our
libraries.
town.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are popular. A lot of places are getting that. Yeah, so you can have a book that you don't really need to return, but if you have something else that you're done with, you can share it with other people too. Yeah, I think those are great. They've got them in a lot of places. I've even seen them at some like museums and things like that. There's a school near me who has one outside the school, so it's just a great resource for anybody who needs something to read.
Yes. Yeah. Because and it's a small little way. Because I admit, going the library that I used to go to, it can be intimidating. You walk in and it's huge, and you're like, okay, I don't know where to go or what to do or
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing with libraries too is librarians that I've interacted with, and I've interacted with quite a few, they're all willing to help, So if you're unsure what to do, I mean, even as a parent, if you weren't raised to be a reader, if you haven't gone to the library in a while, you might feel overwhelmed yourself, even without your kids.
Mm-hmm.
So, feel free to ask, because the librarians are there to help you, and they want to help you. They want to welcome you in and share everything that the library has to offer.
Yes.
They I mean, that's what they're there for, and so don't feel worried. Don't be scared, because it's like the library can be the least intimidating place that you'll ever meet, because heck, everything is free. They don't require anything of you except, if you want to take something out, you need a library card, and that's really easy to get. So it's just, yeah, it's a welcoming place, and treat it as such, treat it as an extension of your home, because it has so much to offer.
That's so good. And I mean, librarians are passionate about people reading. So for someone to say, hey, I need a book on this,
Yep. They can
that's
offer
the best thing
something.
that they probably heard all day.
Absolutely. And I mean, the way that the libraries are arranged, it's like you need a particular kind of book. Okay, here's the section on that. Or you can even just look it up in the computer, with search terms and stuff, and you'll find something that you want. They have stuff on everything, whether your interest is fiction or nonfiction or whatever, you'll find something that interests you, because there's just such a wide assortment out there.
Yeah, which is nice. It's not just, gone are the encyclopedia days where there's one book on that topic. Now there's
Everything.
everything. Yeah, yeah. So you're a bookaholic. So
Yes.
pick your brain. What are your favorite books? If you have any, like, I know.
Well, as an adult or as a child?
Both. Yeah.
As an adult, I mean, I get into a lot of the chick lit. What is called as chick lit is basically like chick flicks in book form. Like the humorous
Yes.
women's fiction. I tend to get into that, but I also like some of the more dramatic things. One of my favorite authors is Debbie Maycomer. I also like Sophie Kinsella. So I have a few authors that I like. I also enjoy some of the classics. I'm actually currently reading Sherlock Holmes. I've been on a Sherlock Holmes kick. So I've been the original ones, the Arthur Conan Doyle ones. I've never read them, so I'm reading those now. And it's so interesting because you compare it to some of the TV shows and movies and things that you've seen, and some of it's the same and some of it's different. So it's interesting to see the comparisons.
Oh, neat. Yeah.
I mean, as a child, I know I got into like the Babysitter's Club and Sweet Valley High and all those things. Around anymore, but it's interesting because I read with my kids. I have a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old, and my 6-year-old, my son, he reads at like a 3rd grade level. So we've been reading chapter books for a while now.
Oh, wow.
Reading the things with him. I'm getting into Magic Tree House with him, and Stink and Judy Moody. He likes Captain Underpants and Dogman, and I'm not a big fan of those, but he really gets a kick out of those. My daughter reads pretty much anything. Well, she doesn't read yet. But we read together. She loves books too, and we'll pretty much anything. I like the rhyming stuff and the silly stuff like Dr. Seuss too. Those are always fun.
Yeah. Yes.
But yeah, my son gets into the question and answer books, like all the science. Why does this happen? What happens when you do this kind of thing? He's big into science, so he likes all of those.
Well,
I never really got into that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm more a fiction kind of gal, but he definitely seems interested in the nonfiction as well.
Yeah. I like
It's interesting
that.
to see.
Yeah. So we made some good suggestions. Something came to me as we were talking that even if you're to help kids read, if you're going on vacation, find books on that place. Just occurred to me. I've never done that with my daughter, but that would be pretty cool.
Yep, absolutely. Or if you know you're going to like a particular museum or an area where there'd be something that relates to it, like if you're going to the beach, there get storybooks about the beach or information about sea animals and that kind of thing. You can certainly go that route. And one other thing is, I mean, it doesn't have to be fiction or nonfiction. Keep in mind that even activity books, sticker books, flap books, puzzle books, a lot of those can be entertaining and they can tap into that too. So if you're talking about vacation, pack some of those along too, and they're still getting some reading in. And you can even have the themes. You'll find books on pretty much any theme. So if you're going to, like you said, different places or different areas, you can find stuff. They have puzzle books that my son and I were doing, Top Secret Adventures, highlights Top Secret Adventures. They have where you're like figuring out these mysteries and like the different countries, they take place in different countries. So you can even incorporate that into it. We're going this place, or, we're learning about this place in school. Why don't we try to do something that's fun and interesting, to bring it into it.
That's so good. Yeah. Yeah. And incorporate that into everything that we're kind of doing, even with the holidays coming in.
Yeah.
We can, let's learn about Christmas and really where does it all come from?
Absolutely. Where do the traditions, the original stories, where do those come from?
Yeah, it just incorporates. And do you find that the more we read as parents, that's going to have that kind of trickle effect?
Absolutely. That is a big one. When it comes to reading, if you view it as a chore, your kids probably will too. But the more that they see you interacting with it, the more that they see you reading and enjoying, if you read to them or if you're just reading, around them, they see that and they see that you're enjoying yourself, that this is something that you are choosing to do with your time. Then, they can see that it can be entertaining and that it can be interesting for them too. So absolutely.
Yeah.
And you do want to read to your kids too, make sure you're reading out loud to your kids, even after they've gotten to the point where they can read to themselves, because it builds that bond and that connection and they want to feel close to you, so if it's at bedtime or before dinner or whatever, to spend a little bit of time reading with them. You can pick, a big chapter book, pick like, Harry Potter and read a couple chapters a night or something together, all snuggled up, and you'll build that connection and build a love of reading in them. And it'll just help in so many ways because you'll get that bond and you're showing them that reading can be an interesting activity and a fun activity you can do together.
Yeah. Yeah. And if, like you said, for help us with stress, help it with overwhelm.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that is huge for us as moms to read before bed, but for our kids to help them get to sleep as well.
Yep.
Just have that incorporate, into our nighttime routine.
Absolutely. So you're helping them de-stress and kind of unwind from the end of their day. You're helping them encourage good sleep habits. And because you're doing it with them, you're building that bond and that connection. It makes them feel loved and connected to you. And that's just an added benefit. You get it's kind of a few minutes where you can have that one-on-one time, that the time where it's just you guys and you're just relating to each other. You can talk about what you're reading. You can ask them questions. How do you think about, what do you think about this? How do you think they were feeling? That kind of thing. So you can build conversation starters. It can do so many things for you as a relationship and individually.
Which is huge, because often when working with moms, I hear that, not that we don't know how, but all I get is, from my kids when I ask them a question, how was school? Fine. What'd you do? Nothing. I mean, it's so huge on building that communication.
Yep. And it's all on how you phrase the questions too,
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't ask like yes or no questions, say, what do you think they were feeling? How do you think they did that? How did they figure that out? Or what do you think is going to happen next? So that they actually have to think about what they were just listening to or what they were just reading and really process it and come up with an answer, so that they can't just kind of brush you off. They really have to think about it for a bit.
Mm-hmm. That is so huge. And I've always loved reading, and I think it was good to talk with this, because it's things that we're taking for granted, and really how it opens up a whole world, and teaching them concrete thinking, teaching them about feelings, all of that is so huge. So it's beyond reading. Reading is just one of the things, but the effects that it would have on our kids are amazing.
Absolutely. Reading is a tool, and it kind of needs to be treated as such. It's not good or bad in itself necessarily. It's just, it allows so much. It can be used for so many purposes and so many things. I mean, you're learning and you're interacting, and it just taps into different parts of your brain, and you can just reap so many rewards from it by just a simple act, using that tool. I mean, we have these language skills, and they help us in so many ways, and we just need to take advantage of them.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And I think it's key, and I love that little nugget that you shared, to then ask those questions for our kids. How do you think they are feeling, or what was she doing, or just asking more questions, getting that communication going, and help them thinking.
Yep. You're helping them process and make sense of what they were reading. And you can even ask, how it relates to them, like, how do you think they felt, or how would you feel in that situation? What would you have done in this kind of situation? And then it makes you think, okay, well, this is how they solved that problem. What would I have done, or what should I do if I come across that same kind of situation?
Yes. Yeah. Huge, huge aha moments for me. I think I have been taking advantage of the fact I love reading, but not now. I want to go now that step and have a conversation about it. And even for my thinking, what am I learning from this book? I love reading, but for my own, taking it that one step, and what would I do in that situation?
Yep. And if you have older kids who may not want to spend that time together reading, if they have to read a book for school, or even if they're just choosing to read a book on their own, read the same book as them. Start like your own mini book club, or invite, if it's something that they're reading in school, invite some of their friends who are reading the same book, and have like a little book club, so that they can talk about it, but it's also making it more fun. So it's not like, I have to read 3 chapters in this book tonight.
Yeah.
You're inviting their friends over. They can talk about it and really start thinking about and understanding what they're talking about. And even just, one-on-one with you, you can talk about, this really interested me when so-and-so did this. What did you think about that? Or how did you feel about this? So even if you're not reading it together per se, you are sharing the same experiences because you're reading the same content.
Yeah, I love that. And that's true. Like, let's read the same thing as our kids so we can get an understanding of it as well.
Yeah,
So
even if
awesome.
you've read it years and years ago, I mean, refresh your memory because let's face it, we probably don't remember things we've read 20 years ago, at least not with any kind of clarity you can talk about.
Yes. Yeah. My daughters, you know, both of them have read The Outsiders, and I think it's in, grade 4 or 5. So, yeah. And just going back and rereading that, as she moves up and starts studying Shakespeare, that would be huge to do that.
Yep, absolutely.
I love that. So, honey, how can parents find out more about where to contact you? What's the best route?
Oh, well, they can contact me through my websites. There's vanessakelman.com. That's the hub for everything me.
Okay.
So that's got links to my websites, my books, and all of that. And then there's my website focused on reading, which is childrensreadingworld.com. And that has information about reading, and there's information about me also if someone needs extra guidance or would like some reading suggestions on a more personal note, they can certainly reach out to me that way as well.
Awesome. So thank you so much. By all means, moms, reach out to Vanessa. She gave us some awesome nuggets and help on, changing our kids so it's not a chore for reading, and kind of going back, and reading is fun. And I'm so thankful that you were here. I learned so much. I never had any idea about the stress and overwhelm. So guys, reach out to Vanessa on the website that she said, vanessakelman.com. And don't forget to subscribe, review this podcast. Check out all our other podcasts on the same page. We've done everything from self-care to now reading to exercise. And I'm Anna Milne with the Flourishing Moms Tribe. Thank you so much for joining us, and pick up a book and let's start reading. Thank you.